And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have the same story where they wish they would have started sooner. Start before you're ready, because you're never actually ready. Everything's changing every day. So you might as well just put yourself in a place to receive that.
Welcome to Everything Is Teachable, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes to learn how everyday creators have transformed their skills and passions into online courses and businesses.
Welcome back to another episode of Everything Is Teachable. My name is Haley, and I am Teachable's senior social media strategist and host of this podcast. The influencer marketing industry is booming, and we're going to talk all about it in this episode. Hear from Lissette Calveiro on her deep experience with influencer marketing, the most important things to know before getting started in the industry, ways to get started with working with brands, and so much more. Let's say hello to influencer consultant and social media coach, Lissette Calveiro. Hello, Lissette. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. How's your day been going?
It has been chugging along, persevering through a Monday.
Yep, persevering. That's all we can do, right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad you're here, like I said before, and I think that we're going to have a really great conversation about all things influencer marketing, all the juicy stuff. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
I'm pumped.
All right, let's do it. So let's just start off by, I'd love to hear about yourself and your background and where you started before you launched your whole online business.
Yeah, so my experience started in the public relations agency world. And actually, I know we have a common work employment history.
Yes.
Yeah, and what was so fun about that is I feel like I was doing this at a moment where social media and PR had a little bit of blurry lines. So what we would see, or I used to be called a hybrid, was really influencer marketing back in the day, right? So we had some clients who used to work with bloggers, and that was the thing of the time. Then comes YouTube, and we're starting to pay people to produce content, which was really neat. And I think as social media evolved being more of a household staple, we started to realize that you can't just rely on journalists to tell your story, to tell your client stories. We needed these gatekeepers, these really influential, regular, everyday people to tell our brand stories. So that is my way into influencer marketing from the brand side. But a curious Nelly, as I've always been, I also started my own blog in 2013. Again, just working with bloggers, I said, I want to start a blog. I kind of like learning from experience. So having that other side as a creator always gave me this unique lens of, quote, both sides of the coin, which allowed me to see how can I as a marketer use influencer marketing for my brand, but how can I as a creator build a business from my personal brand? And all those things together. My last gig was at Ogilvy, which was my dream job. I was director of influencer marketing. And I said, as much as this is my dream job, I think the next challenge for me is, what does life look like for me if I did it on my own, career life on my own? So I decided to turn my career into a hard pivot to just really opening my own consultancy. And what I started doing was essentially imagining my business as little departments. I had the consulting department, which was me as the brand, the creation department, which was me as a creator. And I did have a certification as a life coach. So I thought, okay, let me see what I can do with coaching. And that was more the experimental department until I built Influence with Impact as we know it today.
Oh my goodness. That is quite a history. That's amazing. It's so cool to see all of your different areas of expertise seamlessly blend into each other. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's like you really have to ask yourself, what about those areas of expertise that I find interesting? And there's always a common link.
Yes. That's actually what I wanted to ask you, because I feel like people who are maybe stepping into this journey and they're like, is entrepreneurship right for me? If it is, what would I even focus on? I don't even know. There's so many different things I'm interested in. So how did you kind of narrow that down when you took that step away from full-time work to, work for yourself? How did you narrow it down? This is what I want to focus on. This is who I want to serve.
Yeah. I would say in the beginning, it was more of a leap of faith. But what I wish someone had told me is that it doesn't have to be linear. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I decided to go do my own entrepreneurship thing, I had this vision of I'm doing it because I just want to take a chance on myself. I just
Yep.
want some freedom, right? And I had that vision for myself. But I spent a lot of time making that leap or not making that leap because I didn't have the perfect plan. And then one day I
Right.
just decided, like, I'm just going to go for it, right? What is one thing I'm winning at right now? What is one thing that I'm an expert in? Let me just take a leap of faith toward that vision using this one thing. So if I knew I wanted to get a new challenge, to find freedom in my schedule, which was the original reasons why I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that changed. But the original reasons, I said, where do I win? I do know that me as a consultant in influencer marketing, I'm pretty marketable myself, and I've
Mm-hmm.
already got content creation or a nice rotating stream of that. So let
Yeah.
me use this as the means to that vision. So I started that way. And then things started kind of developing it off on their own because I started to allow more room for myself to expand and experiment. Because again, in the beginning, I said, oh gosh, I won't quit until I have the perfect business plan, the perfect marketing plan. And I waited so long. And when I took the leap, I didn't actually have it all figured out in that moment, but things
Yeah.
started to figure themselves out as they go. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have the same story where they wish they would have started sooner, start before you're ready, because you're never actually ready. Everything's
Yep.
changing every day. So you might as well just put yourself in a place to receive that.
Yes. No, I really think that this is like a recurring theme in a lot of the episodes that I've recorded with other creators. It's like you just have to go ahead and put yourself out there and you'll roll, you got to roll with the punches, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
is the common theme here, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
that's great. It's kind of like not everything has to be just perfectly aligned. If you think it's going to happen on a certain timeline, you're already kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit.
Yeah. And I would say you have to feel aligned with, again, your vision, because at the end of
Yep.
the day, that's going to be the anchor to everything. The
Yep.
way there may change. And you have
Yes.
to really stop pretending like there's going to be a perfect plan to get yourself there. That's just our security blanket. And we got to let it go if we want to go into entrepreneurship.
Yep. Oh my God. Could not agree more. That is super valuable to take away from that. And something I am very excited to talk about with you today is all things influencer marketing, because we all know creator economy is booming. There's no signs of that slowing down anytime soon. So, kind of just to start off, what made you, I mean, you've had so much experience in this industry for years, but what made you like really fall in love with influencer marketing to begin with?
I really love the idea that regular people had influence and
Mm-hmm.
that people could essentially be paid for that everyday influence. Because when you take a step out of social media, think about your friends, family who have in some way influenced you to make a decision or to purchase something or to experience something. And the fact that now people can monetize that, can almost monetize their perspective, their point of view, to me was amazing. And at the time when I really started dabbling in influencer marketing as we know it today, so paying creators, it was less about content creation and it was more about we just really value your opinion and we know your community values your opinion as well. How can we get a space there? So we're kind of paying for that endorsement, for that word of mouth. But then over time, you started to realize, hey, there's way more ways we can use creators as content creators. More and more social media, you needed to be on there if you were a brand. So why not use creators to produce content for us? Then you realize, hey, these creators can host events for us. They can be ambassadors over a whole year. And it just evolved so much more than a traditional sponsored piece of content on social media. So that evolution and that growth really was so interesting to me. And then a lot of the work that I did today is really helping educate creators on how to build a business. And to me, that's even more exciting because it tells me not only are you now getting paid almost to have that opinion, but you're building a business from your person. You're building a business from your story, from your unique perspective, from what you have to say. And that to me is fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why I always say I live by the statement that oversaturation is a myth. Because, and I want to talk about this too, because
Mhm.
since influencer marketing, being an online creator is becoming more and more popular every single day, more people within that are like, okay, I want to like see if I can get a piece of this pie and see if I can do it, but where do I begin? But even just within that, what you said exactly about building a brand from your person, it's all you, it's your authentic voice, I think is the best part about all of it for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally, there's not a single human with your story. So even if
Right.
you're doing the exact category, and I think it's awesome, even teachable, there are probably the same courses thousands of times, but
Yep.
every unique individual is what draws another new person to sign up, right? It's that connection. So that's something I
Yes.
really value.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And no, what you said is totally right. And that's another like philosophy that we stand by is like, no one is doing it like you, like your clients, the people you're serving are in your world because they trust what you have to say. They're engaged with what you have to say. So yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest things is just to realize, yes, there's other people out there who are maybe talking about the same thing you want to talk about, but it's going to be still completely different at the end of the day.
A
So,
100%.
yeah. So, going back to kind of, people who are looking from the outside into the world of content creation and working with brands, being an influencer, what should budding influencers kind of know about the industry before they really take that first step?
Budding influencers need to know that the amount of followers doesn't guarantee money in your bank account. The connection and the trust you have with your followers is what guarantees money in your bank account. And I think there's this big misconception that I can go viral overnight, whether or not going viral was difficult. Everyone has different levels of experience with production of content. But anyone can technically go viral overnight. Not everyone can build a business overnight because trust is earned over time. So I see this a lot with creators who will come to me and say, I've got 100,000 followers, but I have no idea how to monetize. And it's because they've spent too much time figuring out how to go viral and how to grow quickly, but not how to build trust with their community. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a catch 22 because of course everyone wants to grow because that means more people are seeing the opportunity of being on my page, more people have the chance to discover me. But I would say focus more on serving the community you have than on trying to go viral. And there's a way to do both, to have a balance of both. Make your content shareable, make it discoverable, but don't lose sight of the fact that you need to keep building connections in order to convert it into money. And that's whether you're working with brands, right? Because a brand's going to hire you for the trust you've developed with your community. And then if you wanted to launch your own digital product or service or course, no one's going to buy unless they trust you on that topic. So really have to foster that first.
Yeah. So from your perspective, like, would you say that really connecting with your audience, building that trust is like kind of, again, first step to before anything else?
Yeah, I would say first step before anything else, because you can have 100 followers and start practicing how to build connection. Don't wait until you have the 100,000 because then it becomes so much more difficult. You find yourself actually, if you just go straight through quick growth, quick virality, you get to a point where you feel scattered in the type of people you've brought into your platform. And I see this happen a lot, right? Maybe you went viral, you attracted a very random community, so you don't know who you're even building connections with. And these are the creators who I feel get stuck now trying to beat the algorithm. I got to grow that fast again, or I got to make sure that so and so sees my content, but you're forgetting that you don't even know who so and so in your community is. So try to practice fostering that from day one. And then after that, I think it's all about experimentation, right? Seeing, again, same way entrepreneurship is almost one giant experiment. See the type of content that you find joy producing, but is still serving value to your community.
I love that so much. That is so, so good. What are some like tactics that you've tried that are like tried and true to you that you've tried on your own social media pages to really like deepen that connection aside from like the whole aspect of creating content that brings you joy? I think that is like number one for sure because it's coming off authentic that way. But what are
Yeah.
some things that you've done in the past?
Number one is I don't plan my content, I plan the conversations I want to have. And what that means is I don't spend time putting together a perfect grid of 30 posts, but I am spending time thinking, what are some pain points my ideal follower is having right now? What would be something that would make my ideal follower laugh? What would be something that they're Googling right now? And really just starting to think about what are the conversations they want to have. Because when you have that written down, making content is easy. The how you tell that story is easy. It could be a reel, it could be a YouTube video, it can be anything. But if you know the conversations you want to have with your community, you know that whatever you make, it's going to be more impactful. It's going to go further for you. And I would say that. And the second thing, which is really a fun tip, is the mundane or boring stuff in and around your life or your business. Share that, because we don't do enough of that. And what I see happen on the flip side is you've got these amazing experts, coaches, creators who are just so putting out valuable content day in, day out. But I have no idea who they are as people. I'm not going to buy from them because I just don't know them yet. I don't like them. And not that I dislike them, but I just don't know who they are. And people like buying from people. So I really do think that putting into practice, whether it's every day I'm going to share something that made me laugh, or every day I'm going to share one little piece of my routine, whatever that is for you to keep yourself accountable, show us your life so that we can connect with you as a person.
Oh, yeah. I have a shout out to make because I think that she is in a perfect alignment with what you just described. Hunter Harris, who writes the Hung Up newsletter. She used to write for Vulture. She's just hilarious and brilliant. And her whole newsletter is about pop culture, celebrities, like funny moments like that. And why people are so drawn to her, I mean, aside from her just being a brilliant writer and a great online personality, is that people feel connected to her like a friend in a way. And you see, she sends out her newsletter every week, and then people are just posting it like crazy, like, oh, I feel so seen, or something like that, about like how funny it is. And it's just like such a great example of how just being yourself, and then like showing the less quote unquote glamorous moments sometimes can really just like make you feel like you do know that person, and then are more likely after that to buy from them.
Exactly. And exactly what you said, I feel so seen. That is the gold mine in social media
Truly.
content. When you
Yes.
get that, you did it.
Yeah. That's the most exciting thing. Doing Teachable Social, that makes me the happiest when I see comments like that about something that made them laugh, or something that it felt super relatable. That's the creme de la creme right there.
Exactly.
So let's say this creator is doing all the hard work and putting in the work to grow their audience, connect on a deeper level with their audience. Maybe they have started to like really grow exponentially. So now maybe they feel like they're in the realm of, I would like to do some brand deals. Like, where do you begin? How can you cold call brands in a way to see if they would be interested in working with you? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Again, foundations, if you don't have a community and you don't feel established as your brand in your corner of the internet, it's going to be difficult to start these conversations. But I trust that you have gotten there. And once you get past that, I would say it's about finding the brands that align with your community's day-to-day life. And I always tell people, shop your pantry, medicine closet, your desk, your beauty closet, and really start to figure out what are the brands I interact with day to day in the realm of what I do and what I've built trust on. And then I say the best way in to start working with brands, like you said, you're going to have that one moment where you cold email a brand, but how can we make it so that first email isn't as cold? How can we warm up that lead? So for example, if there's a brand that you've determined, okay, this is going to be really great for my community, is it you're going to organically quickly mention it in your stories and maybe ask your community, anyone using this brand? Anyone, what are your thoughts on this brand? Because what will happen is people may respond. Now you have testimonials. So now when you go and you reach out to this brand with a cold pitch, you are a little bit warmer because you're able to say, by the way, last time I mentioned you, everyone was freaking out about it. Or last time I talked about you, so-and-so said this about you. So it's really making that first move with a brand. The more you can do pre-pitch to warm up that relationship, the better in your favor. And then when you get to that point of pitching brands, which I think everyone needs to be doing, because again, you want to build relationships with these potential clients of yours. So you have to start reaching out. You can't just wait for them to find you. But when you get to that point, know that email one is just first date. It's relationship builder number one. There's a lot of creators who get really, they feel let down because their first email didn't turn into cash. And it's okay because you're not going to go all the way on the first date, I think.
Yeah.
So you really want to, treat it like that one first fun date. You're getting to know each other. You're telling them, this is who I am. You've warmed up the relationship as much as possible. And then the question should be, let me get to know you and your goals so that I can serve you best. And then that leads to a natural conversation about how you can work with that brand.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. And I think that maybe another underlying theme here is putting yourself out there, because it takes quite a level of that to make this happen. How can creators move past the fear of putting themselves out there, whether that's reaching out to a brand and posting and maybe moving past the uncomfort of promoting something on their stories or in their feed or something like that?
I think it actually starts by doing a lot of inner work on who you are and what your story is. It's the work that everyone avoids. And it's funny because in the mastermind that I have, we actually start with mindset, because I can teach you every tactic in the world about getting on video. But if you don't feel that you are good enough to even be on social media, then you're never going to get on video. So it's that inner work that you kind of have to do. And I always say the best way to start is brain dump your story. Tell yourself your story. And then I want you to go back and tell yourself, what was so freaking awesome about that story? Where did I win? Where did I totally knock it out of the park? And then also look and say, where did I fall? Where did I feel bad for a moment? And how did I come back from that? Because when we start to see our entire story and we start to see all the amazing things we've done, all the amazing ways we've picked ourselves up, then we actually start to feel more comfortable in our story. And we start to shed those fears of not wanting to show up, because that fear of not wanting to show up is so much deeper feelings of, I may not be good enough. I may not be cool enough. I may not be enough. And when you just write down your story and look at it, as even if it's just 5 minutes of journaling or 30 minutes, if you can give all of that, you start to feel more ownership of that story and your confidence does start to build up. And then from there, it's really a game of practice. So I always say start small. If it means you're only going to show up on Instagram stories because they disappear, amazing, give us that. If you're working your way up to going live, amazing, but you don't have to be there on day one. Own your story and then start small with actually practicing that nerve.
Ooh, that is such a valuable advice. I love the point about starting small. I think that's the best way to go about it. So you're not overwhelming yourself from the beginning, and you can just do small little bites. You don't have to go full force all at once. I love that.
Yeah. Imagine if I was talk to a whole stadium first day.
Yeah. No, do a TED Talk right off the bat. It's all good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your mastermind, and I actually would love to talk about influence and impact. So how did that all get started, and what was your aha moment of realizing that people really needed that knowledge that you had to share?
I actually started with this idea that influencer started to become a dirty word. And this was around 2019. A lot of creators started saying, don't call me influencer, call me content creator. And I thought, how can we take ownership back of the word influencer? And I thought it's just the meaning attached to it. So I started to really brainstorm around how can I bring meaning back to influence and influencer. And then I thought about the people who influence me and what about their platforms that I really value. And it wasn't that it wasn't just people talking about deep stuff or people changing the world through advocacy, because obviously that impact is very easy to see, but it was actually the everyday person who was sharing fashion content that now made me feel a little more confident, because the way that they wear colors inspired me on wearing colors. And, it just trickles into my life. So I realized that it was about finding the intention behind the influence that you wanted to have. And all that together, I thought, okay, well, how can I help influencers build a business that actually has that intention? And that's how I came up with the word influence with impact. But it was really, I felt like there was a missing roadmap to how someone can literally start from scratch toward the end, but not just how to use social media or how to work with brands, all the in between stuff. How do I build a personal brand? How do I monetize that personal brand with good intention? And then third, how do I actually make impact? How do I find that why that goes beyond I'm a lifestyle creator, I'm a fashion creator? Because I think those are just tactics. I can tell you all day how to make cool fashion content, but you need to tell me why that fashion content is important and who it's important for. So all of that came together, and I thought the best way to really tell that and to guide people through that was through a hybrid model of coursework and coaching. Because I do believe that with coursework, when it's deep in this way of demanding transformation from you and getting you to those uncomfortable, hard places to see that change, I do believe a hybrid guided approach is really great. So that's something I think Teachable has really helped with, where there's a really easy way for people to get all the tactics, all the course material, but then they're able to still have coaching with me outside of just what they're seeing in the course material.
That's amazing. I'm so glad I was literally going to ask you about the format of Influence with Impact and kind of the outcomes. And how have you noticed with the format, and how's the response been to students that have gone through the program?
Amazing. I'm so excited because, again, I think it's such a big difference when people get some time with you, whether it's one-on-one or group. I happen to do the group route. People feel a little bit more accountability than simply having to download my content and consume it. And I think there's places for both. But again, with this particular program, what I wanted people to do was build, find intention, and build that business that you want to see from your influence. So with that, I felt like it did need a little bit of guidance. And what I'm seeing is, again, people will you can tell they've consumed the material in the curriculum. And then we've got our scheduled coaching times that they've kind of picked out. And it's nice to see people kind of come in and say, so I've got the foundations and I understand the concept you're trying to say, but I would love for you to help me with XYZ. I recently had an example, a very literal example of someone who said, I watched the module, the lesson that had to do with all the tools I'm using for editing, but I actually realized I spend a lot of time editing. And I thought, interesting, tell me about it. Why do you spend time? And this person said, I actually spend a lot of time picking my favorite photo. And I said, why is that? And they got a little bit deeper and they said, I don't know, I just feel like I'm going to pick the wrong photo. So that was a moment for me to coach the person on how to get over this fear of judgment, of how to get over the fear of, dang it, I picked the wrong one, and really helping them reframe how they go into editing. And I told her, so just after doing, a whole coaching moment, so you see, it wasn't about not having the tools, because you actually have the tools. You got them from the lesson and it seems like it's going really well for you. But there was a moment of transformation that needed to happen. And if I have left that person just to only watch the material, I think they would have stayed stuck in that cycle. They would have gotten an easy answer today, but 2 weeks from now, they would have totally gotten stuck on, I'm still taking 3 hours to edit a photo because I can't pick a dang photo.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great that they get that level of support. And because even with little things like that, focusing too much on the tiniest details can get you stuck so hard. So just thank you for doing that. Yeah. I'm that way. So when you're telling that story, I'm like, I would 100% focus 3 hours on what I want to name my school or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Something that I would really like to hear, what is one piece of advice that you received from either a peer or a mentor when you first started that really made a huge impact on you?
Definitely quote that lives with me forever. My choir teacher gave me this, was leave things better than you found them. And that applies to a lot more than just the big cheesy level of the quote. But for example, I actually stopped thinking that I had to give the best of my best. And I just wanted to give the best of what I just did, right? So leaving a task better than I started, or leaving, I'm not going to hit draft 17 right now, but I'm going to give you draft 5. And like this idea that I'm going to leave the things I'm making just better than I found them helped me take action longer. And I think also from a higher level, the type of work that I'm doing is working with a lot of people where I still use that philosophy. And I think, how can I leave this person again better than I found them? Does not mean that that person's going to be changed to perfection, because we're never going to be perfect people, or
Right.
in many ways we're perfect because we're imperfect. And
Yes.
it's just about finding a way to make someone feel like, I did one thing today for myself. I did one thing today that's going to make me feel better than I did yesterday. So
Yep.
heard that many, many, many years ago and stuck with me forever. Still keep it to this day.
Oh, I love that so much. That's great. Hopefully if your choir teacher somehow listens to this, you guys can maybe reconnect or something. Love that.
Yes.
This is also one question I really love asking everyone who's on this podcast, because everything is always so unique and different. But what if you were starting your online business today, what would you do in the first month or two?
I would do qualitative research on my ideal client, my
Mm,
ideal shopper. And that qualitative research doesn't have to be so complicated. I've done multiple different ways. So, one thing I did before launching Influence with Impact was actually just survey people in my Instagram stories, ask them a little bit of, without telling them what was coming, asking them questions of things that were going to be relevant to the curriculum. And I even offered some people who were answering questions that sounded like, dang, you're exactly my ideal client, offered them to get on the phone for 10 minutes. And in exchange for a Starbucks gift card, I would ask them a ton of questions. And then this round, and what I mean by this round is I am working on a new course to drop inside my school. I've been
ooh,
doing I've actually been doing almost a beta version of what I want to launch, right? So before actually putting the course material on something like a Teachable, I've been teaching some of it as live webinars just to see how people react to it. And that to me is really serving as qualitative research. So that honestly is one of the best ways to move yourself forward, because we spend again so much time on, what's the perfect sales page messaging, what's the perfect logo, colors. That
yeah.
won't matter unless you actually talk to your clients. So go do that qualitative research.
Yeah. Oh, developing those personas, it's everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about building a new course. Let's talk about it.
Yes. So again, qualitative research. I've had Influence with Impact, the mastermind, now for 2 years. And I realized that there are some people inside my community who maybe they aren't at the level of wanting to go to a mastermind route because their business vision isn't there yet. So they don't see themselves in something as intensive. There's also some people who are content creators who are actually doing quite well, but something's missing around pricing and negotiation. That is my most frequently asked question. My most frequently asked topic is, how the heck do I price myself? So we are actually launching a pricing and negotiation course specifically for influencers and content creators as it relates to working with brands and creating content. So you can keep an eye out for that. And it's essentially to help you solve, what the heck do I charge and how do I make sure I'm actually asking for my worth? One thing that I'm also excited about is we're going to be testing Teachable's membership options so that we can actually have a space where people can talk about pricing more transparently and get access to some of the material without going fully into the course if you're not ready to invest in that yet.
That sounds incredible. I'm so excited for you. God, the pricing aspect is probably one of the hardest things for people. So
Oh,
good for
yeah.
you for like putting that together. Like that's going to be super valuable. I'm excited to see it.
Same.
And when can people expect to see it launch?
Spring 2022, coming to a Teachable school near you.
Oh my God,
And it'll live,
amazing.
it'll live under Influence with Impact inside Teachable. And yeah, I'm excited about it.
Amazing. I cannot wait. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Lisa, where can people connect with you or learn more about your services, your course, all of that good stuff?
So you can find me, the personal brand, at Lissette Calv, which is my name, or you can also follow us anywhere at Influence with Impact. And that's where you'll find resources very specific to influencers, content creators. But On my end, we talk about everything: entrepreneurship, life, and how to find balance in both things.
So important. Oh, thank you for sharing. And Lissette, before we head off for today, do you have any last words of wisdom or inspiration for our listeners?
I think something that was a recurring theme here is, again, start before you're ready, because you're never actually going to be ready. So go experiment and know that with entrepreneurship, the beauty of it is that even if you, quote, derail yourself, you can always find your way back. And as long as you continue knowing that there's a vision, keep taking action toward that vision. That timeline may change. It's going to go fast for some people. It's going to go real slow for some others. And it's okay. Just start before you're ready.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Lissette, for everything.
Thank you.
This podcast is produced by Teachable, your go-to platform for course creation. Since 2014, we've helped more than 100,000 creators earn over $1 billion from online courses and coaching products. How do we do it? By managing all the logistics, like coding and payment processing, to make it easier than ever for you to share your knowledge online. To learn more, visit teachable.com.